Wrestling Inc. after WWE NXT. I am Alfred Konuwa, joined by NYC Demon Diva Issa. How are you doing today, Issa?
I'm doing great. I'm in such a good mood after this episode of NXT. Who wouldn't be?
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah, it was a Fallout episode from NXT. Of course, Glenn is not with us today. He will probably rejoin us Friday and even for the pay-per-view. So the bad news is that, of course, Glenn's not here. But the good news is that this leaves us with more time to talk about my Milwaukee Bucks and your New York Brooklyn Nets, who are
You're going down. You're going down. They're making a comeback. We have a whole quarter left.
They're making it competitive. They're making it interesting. I'll give you that. But we will focus on the pro wrestling today. We don't have to talk about the fact that the Bucks are going to take this in 6. We have a lot going on today in the news. Tony Khan did a big interview with Forbes. It was not me, ladies and gentlemen, but my colleague Hank did a great job talking to Tony Khan about a number of things. And one thing that came out was that AEW, Issa, is still in the red. So they made an 8-figure investment in the video game department. And so they're still in the red, but they're expecting to be profitable this year. Do you expect AEW to maybe, spend more money on free agents and whatnot moving forward, given their situation right now?
Yes, of course. I believe my degree is in business management, and usually a brand new business takes about 2 years before they even get out of the red, let alone making these investments into the video games. Therefore, it is normal for a company as young as AEW to still be in the red. You spend the first 3 to 5 years of your brand new company investing, and that's when you start seeing the return on investment. The video game, if they can pull it off, okay, because we all know we've been disappointed with a lot of wrestling video games. If they can pull off a non-glitchy video game, that could be a huge profit for AEW. On top of that, you have to add the fact that 2020 was a year where pretty much every company was in the negative. Let's keep it real. Maybe not WWE, but it's because they have other deals that they depend on. Not AEW. They're brand new. All they have is TNT, touring, etc. So it is completely normal. I love how everybody online became all of a sudden a P&L expert, and they read the entire profit and loss sheet for AEW and decided they're going down. I'm like, what is going on here? This is something that I do for a living. I review. I do cost reductions. I try to figure out how I can get business to start bringing in that profit, and it is completely normal. I am not shocked. A company as new as AEW is in the red. It shouldn't shock anybody, to be honest.
Absolutely. The surprise should be that they're going in the black. I mean, I assume that they were because they got such a big TV deal. But the fact that they're even going to be in the profit this year, you hit the nail on the head, Issa. And I don't think there's more of a qualified podcast to talk about this than the two business experts, Issa and Alfred, because that's exactly what you said, is that most businesses lose money in their first 3 years. And I know they got a big investment and whatnot, but that does make it more impressive that even with that $100 million investment from his father and whatnot, they're still going to be a profitable company sometime this year. And that's very impressive and ahead of schedule for a company that started, 2018, 2019?
Yes.
They're right there in that range. They're getting more TV money for that Rampage show. So, the narrative that kind of started up that, they haven't made money yet, the sky's falling and whatnot, the fact that they're even headed toward profit in 2021 should be considered a huge success.
To be honest with you, Alfred, if he would have came in that interview and said that they were making money, I would have said he's full of crap. If I would have read that they are in the above the red, then I would have been like, you're full of crap. Your company's way too new for you to be making money right now. So I'm not shocked by this. It's normal. It's perfectly normal, and they're going to be just fine. And listen, they're getting back in the road, so now they're going to start making that touring money as well. I really want them to pull off this video game, though. I'm really rooting for any wrestling video game to be good. Please give us one.
Yeah, and I think they're in good hands along those lines. Of course, they had that E3 conference this past week, but AEW has guys like Kenny Omega who are very, very much into video games, and it's like a passion project almost like that for him, and he's kind of one of the front men of the video games department. So I know at the very least they're going to have a lot of working knowledge in terms of making these video games, and I have very high expectations for what these video games are going to be like, especially knowing how much they're investing in it. With the combination of investing in it and the people who are running it, I think they should be good.
Correct. I actually hosted an event for Razer before the pandemic. It was so funny because like you have all of these big honchos for Razer and they're doing a product launch, so we had to keep it. I was renting conference rooms. I know this is off topic, but I'll get to it. The whole point to that is that I arranged the whole thing. I rented them an entire floor in a building. They set it up, like they transformed it, and then they give me a brochure and I see Kenny freaking Omega in their brochure, and I'm like a little bit clueless about their products at that point, but I'm like, oh my god, it's Kenny Omega, and everybody's like, why do you know this? Now, remember, this is corporate. It's a full suit, high heels, like talking business with them. And I'm like, oh, I love wrestling. Apparently, they all love wrestling and they all love Kenny Omega because we went on an extensive conversation about Kenny Omega. And I was like, this is the last place I thought I would be sitting here talking professional wrestling. But he was a big face in their brochure and their product launch.
I love the visual of people in suits marking out over Kenny Omega. That's so great. I didn't even working at that job.
It was awesome.
What wasn't so awesome was the Raw rating. It was a little up. They did have a record low a couple weeks ago, and it is starting to make kind of a climb back, but it's about 1.742 million for the go-home show of Raw, this according to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. So it's up a little bit, but still below 2 million. And of course, Hell in a Cell is a Sunday. Issa, based on what you saw from Raw, are you excited about Hell in a Cell?
No, I wish Hell in a Cell was when it's supposed to be. I feel like the Hell in a Cell, all right, maybe not Drew and Bobby Lashley because they have been feuding forever, but I feel like everything else just feels so like push. Like we have a pay-per-view this week, let's just push all of these matches. I mean, of course, we talked about it Friday. I will pay to see Roman Reigns throw around on Mysterio for a half hour any day because it was fun on Friday. But overall, no, and I wish they would have left Hell in a Cell when it was supposed to be. I know that WWE have to make their changes, and that's fine, but I don't feel like it doesn't feel like a Hell in a Cell. I really wish they would get rid of that pay-per-view period and let the Hell in a Cell matches happen when they're necessary and not forcing it upon a pay-per-view.
100%. What they did with Money in the Bank in terms of taking a match and making it into a pay-per-view was good in terms of making the Money in the Bank pay-per-view mean something because the match meant so much. And even though they've kind of screwed up along the way, it still means something. But Hell in a Cell, I think you can point to the death of Hell in a Cell as a gimmick to the fact that they made it into its own pay-per-view, so they had to kind of bastardize it and overdo it. And a lot of these bad moments have happened at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And I agree with you in that there's not enough time. Hell in a Cell is something you shouldn't force your way into it. You shouldn't have to fit into the Hell in a Cell. You should have a feud that you work backwards from, and that finishing point is Hell in a Cell. And if you're going to schedule Hell in a Cell, that needs to be figured in instead of just having this pay-per-view sprung upon us.
Yeah, I really wish they didn't have it because it just feels so forced. Every once in a while, you do get a couple of really good Hell in a Cell matches. I mean, the Hell in a Cell matches are good overall, but it just, I don't need them forced. I just rather it be like Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania because we hate each other, not because the pay-per-view is coming up and we kind of have to hate each other for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, this used to be their biggest match, literally the biggest match they could do in terms of a blow-off, and it does not feel that way for this Sunday. Terry Allen Jr. adding that UKES are developing AEW's game, and they are. UKES is a OG in terms of the gaming platform, and they're in good hands with that development.
So. Oh, that's awesome. That's good to know. I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, tonight we had WWE NXT. There were rumors floating around. This is the Fallout show from TakeOver in Your House. And even when we were on the air, Issa, there's kind of scuttlebutt about Samoa Joe. Maybe they're going to bring him in for this, that, and the other. Well, we go to NXT. William Regal comes out, tearfully gives an address, kind of like a farewell address, really tapping into his emotions, give this really good promo about how he's been there since the beginning. He's interrupted by Karrion Kross, who wants to see William Regal quit. He said, "Are you crying, Mr. Regal?" I thought he was really good as a heel in this segment. And then Karrion Kross is interrupted just as William Regal's about to quit by none other than Samoa Joe himself, who comes out. Crowd's going crazy for him. It looks like the deal with Samoa Joe, Issa, is that Samoa Joe is going to be an enforcer type with William Regal, because even though Regal was ready to retire, Joe declined the offer to be the new GM. He said instead, Samoa Joe will be a guy who will enforce himself whenever he is touched. So he's not going to touch anybody unless he's touched first. So what did you think about the segment? Provoked. Okay, provoked first. What did you think about this segment, and what did you think about Samoa Joe and NXT?
Bravo. Oh my God. Did I mark out? Even knowing this is one of the times that I wish like dirt sheets and all that didn't exist, because that as a legit surprise without the rumors, it would have broken the internet, especially with him being recently released, and we were all so upset. I feel like collectively everybody in the IWC was so upset when they read the name Samoa Joe, right? And it's awesome to see him come back. Does it get any better as an enforcer than Samoa Joe? No, and we saw that throughout the night. I think I need to give props to all three of them on their performance in this opening segment. I was so impressed with Regal. He had me in tears before he even started like talking. Like, I was like, what is happening? You know, like, oh my God. And he didn't say war games. I was upset. But I love how he took his time to talk about his time in NXT, because William Regal is a big part of NXT. And that's why I kept thinking to myself, even if you bring Samoa Joe, you cannot let Regal go. He will not feel the same way. I thought Karrion Kross was amazing as a heel up to a point. I felt once Samoa Joe came out, they made him look like a little bitch again. I'm sorry for the language, but it's 3 weeks in a row. Right, it's just us tonight, and I have a drink right next to me. They made him look like a little bitch again for the 3rd week in a row. I feel like he's like, listen, and he's Samoa Joe, that is fine. And if that's what they're teasing, maybe we'll get to that. I don't know. But up until the moment that Samoa Joe came out, Karrion Kross was like, this is the best that you've looked in a while, buddy. Good for you.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think you can get a better enforcer than Samoa Joe. I was so happy. Everybody was happy. And it was a good deal. And I love that he told Regal, you're not going anywhere. We're going to do this together.
Yeah, and it kind of plays us to a point we made this past week on our last podcast, in that, like, very predictable, but I was very excited to see it. And at the same time, yeah, I too wish that maybe I was kept in the dark and that was a complete surprise, because the way it was rolled out was a complete shock. Like, of course, you read on the dirt sheet and stuff like that. But if I wouldn't have known about that, that would have been a legitimate shock. I loved how they did it. They really underplayed it. In like mid-sentence, you just heard this music start up, where if I didn't hear something before, I'd be like, is that a mistake? Like, is Samoa Joe here? So that was very well done. And I can't talk enough about how great William Regal was in this segment, because just based on his performance, my head, I was just thinking, like, of course he's able to tap into these emotions because he's going to get replaced. He's probably tapping into real emotions about a guy who's about to lose his job in real life. Even though it's a storyline, Regal's going to take a step back. By the end of the segment, he's still the GM. So that was 100% acting. Like, this guy legitimately performed and like was tearing up and gave this performance knowing that he's not even really going to lose his job. So I can't say enough about how great William Regal was.
I will say, when he got interrupted by Karrion Kross, I already had a feeling that he was working us. Because in a way, I felt like if Regal is retiring, they will give him all the time that he wants to address everybody. Once he got interrupted, that's when I was like, okay, we're going somewhere with this, because there's no way that if he was leaving for real, they were going to like work us. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I really enjoyed that they gave us the follow-up to the cliffhanger right away. No waiting around. We know what you guys are tuning in for. Let's get to it. I love that, because I would have been so upset if they waited until the end of the show to have Regal come out and, you know, and obviously played out throughout the show. So they were able to utilize Samoa Joe. But I love when they leave you on a cliffhanger and they get right to it.
Yeah, and in addition to that, the opening package kind of played to, for those of you who missed it, this is what happened, and then they showed the Regal thing, and they went right into that. And I will say, here's what bothered me about Karrion Kross. As much as I like Karrion Kross when he's yelling and he's like kind of a bully, I hated that he was in a suit. It's just like more of this, like, they're trying to make him Ric Flair.
It's a human thing you don't like.
Yeah, why is he wearing a suit? It's like the most human thing he can do. And he's just talking about how, like, the story is, and I like that they're kind of making this a story. I'm bringing about all this chaos. And it's like, how much chaos can you really bring in that, like, nice little, and it's not even like a flashy suit. It's like a yacht suit. It's like a sailor suit. So I just wish that they just had this guy in full gear all the time. There's just a lot of little things that they're just not doing with him that make him seem regular. And they didn't even give him, like, yeah, they teased Samoa Joe, but I don't even know if Samoa Joe is cleared to compete. So there was no new challenger tease tonight, which I think is exactly what he needed. So I really wish that they would kind of get Karrion Kross back on track here.
Well, he was a heel, and he cut a decent promo when he was like talking to Regal. The fact that he ended up walking away with the loudest pop from the crowd, like singing him goodbye, doesn't that give you a little bit of a hint? Because this crowd was dead for him on Sunday. And the fact that they popped just to sing goodbye out of there, I mean, that's not a good sign for Karrion Kross and how the crowd is feeling about him, right?
It really is not. And the more they keep like this for multiple reasons, I just hope he goes away from like the Adam Coles and the Pete Dunnes of the world, because not only are these matches now starting to run together, the more he beats these protected internet wrestling types, like these people will turn on him. This is exactly what happened with Baron Corbin. People forget Baron Corbin was a monster babyface in NXT because his gimmick was the fans would count down, or they would just count until the match was over because he wrestled these quick matches. And it got over really huge. Then they decided to make him learn how to work. And they started feeding him guys that the people liked. And they turned on him. And he was a heel from day one to WWE until now. And like if they're looking for Karrion Kross to be this killer babyface, the more he beats the Pete Dunnes and the Kyle O'Reillys and the Adam Coles, if they don't get him away from that, I'm afraid that same thing will happen. Because to your point, they did really seem to kind of be excited to see him go.
Yeah. Yeah, 1000%. I even forgot about Baron Corbin. You are right. He was a huge baby face in NXT. I completely forgot.
Yeah. It's easy given how much of a heel he is. He had a similar gimmick, not like necessarily. Yeah, he actually had a cool entrance too.
Yeah, he did. I actually, because I like the entrance that he has now. You forget that his very first entrance song was even cooler. Problem is that they replaced it with a good one, so you didn't bitch too much. But his first entrance was awesome when he was the Lone Wolf. None of this King BS.
Well, Breezango is also awesome. They had a match against Imperium. This is an okay matchup. I will admit this is when the Nets versus the Bucks started up, but I did pay attention to this match. And Breezango won with a roll-up, and afterwards they were immediately attacked by Imperium, who laid them out and put a flag on them. Where is this going, Issa?
I don't know, but the whole flag thing, and then the camera, like the bird's eye view of them like laying there with... That was so extra that I absolutely loved it. You had to go somewhere with Imperium, right? And then we saw an awesome, amazing tag match to close the show. I feel like tag team wrestling might be coming alive again in NXT, because NXT used to be known for it and then it died down for a little bit. But, I feel like they're making an effort to bring it back right now. We'll see where it goes, but overall, I just love that visual of him laying there with the flag on top of him and the camera angle. They did a good job with that.
Yeah, I wish they would do more stuff like that. Like, that's like an actual sports angle that you saw, and that's my takeaway. That's what I was like, well, at least they got a cool camera angle, because, I mean, Imperium, they're good workers, but they don't really do much with them outside of being aligned with Walter, who has kind of disappeared off TV. I hope they bring him back.
He didn't FaceTime in tonight, huh? I was waiting for his FaceTime.
Like, I'm looking more forward to those FaceTimes and like these matches, because there's a story behind it. And as we'll get to later on, I think the hottest thing they have in NXT is just a story that they're telling, an old-fashioned pro wrestling story. And so the more story that goes with this, I hope it's just not back and forth with Breezango and Imperium, because as talented as these two teams are, they need a little more that they can sink their teeth into.
Yeah, agree.
We got to the Kushida Open Challenge. So this week it's Trey Baxter. Let me just tell you what I do like about these Open Challenges, Issa, is that it's like a legitimate Open Challenge, and that you're getting people who were never in NXT to begin with, like people outside of the WWE. It was Carmelo Hayes that one week, and now it's Trey Baxter, who I thought looked fine in the ring in there with Kushida. What did you think about the Kushida match against Trey Baxter, who lost by submission?
I'm not familiar with Trey, and I thought he looked awesome tonight. I feel like Kushida is doing such a good job with these Open Challenges. Kind of brings me back to when John Cena did it, to where he was having these amazing matches. He was still winning, but the person that lost didn't look bad in the matches either. And I feel like that's what's going on here. Really, really curious overall about who's going to be the person, because we're getting Kyle O'Reilly next week. Who's going to be the person that gets that title off of Kushida? Because I feel from day one, he's been booked very, very well. So I don't know that you have built anybody to come in and take that title off of him at the moment. So let him keep having awesome matches every week. That's what we watch NXT for, right? It's for good wrestling, and he's giving us that in every Open Challenge.
Yeah, NXT is the king of the short badasses. Like, it's a lost art in pro wrestling. And from Kushida to Azai Lee, like, they don't care. If you can go in NXT, they'll build you up into a monster. And like, Kushida is now turning everybody away. And if they're really building towards somebody taking the title off of him, I really hope it is like a surprise, like a huge surprise outside of WWE. I know it may now probably be dated to talk about this, but I know WWE was talking to New Japan for a while. Like, if they ever struck up that deal, I would love to see like a Sho Tanaka or something.
I didn't even think about that. Stop it, Alfred. Stop it.
I don't want to get people's hopes up too much, but I really hope the way they're doing this, if they keep introducing us to people, that one day it's just somebody from a different promotion that we didn't know wasn't signed. But yeah, Kyle O'Reilly is a good next step. Kind of a fall for grace after being in a world title program. But I do like the idea of a legitimate open challenge.
Yeah, me too. And he's doing a great job with it. And I love what you said, the fact of somebody that you're not expecting, like literally not expecting at all, being the persons that are answering it.
Yeah. So we'll see where they go. I'm sure they'll have great matches, Kyle O'Reilly and Kushida.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and we're gonna go from a great match to a great feud, I think, where LA Knight, we are getting the $1 million championship celebration. I was looking forward to this the least out of anything on the show because Cameron Grimes didn't win, and as you know on this podcast, I'm not the biggest LA Knight guy, but he got his coronation, he got the pyro again. Then LA Knight gets his chance to speak. And he says how Ted DiBiase was a big influence on him. He wants to be just like Ted when he was a kid. The fans are really chanting for Cameron Grimes, and it seems to kind of throw LA Knight off. But he's basically paying homage to Ted DiBiase before, at the end of the promo, he says he needs to get rid of the things that he doesn't need anymore. And he punches out Ted DiBiase. Big heat for this. Cameron Grimes comes down and runs off LA Knight. LA Knight is still your $1 million champion, but now he has the title by himself, and Cameron Grimes is going to chase to win that title for good old Ted. What did you think about this segment?
Oh my God. I don't know. I guess I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. I thought now they were going to just pair up Ted DiBiase with LA Knight and they were going to be a thing, right? So this brings us back to what we talked about on Sunday, which is Cameron Grimes with Ted DiBiase. That's what started this whole thing, and that's where it needs to end. So, of course, Cameron Grimes, a babyface chasing, that's fine, but I really was not expecting him to do that tonight. So it actually took me by surprise. Good heat. Like the crowd, first of all, the crowd's already against him because they wanted Cameron Grimes to win. And the moment that he did that, I was like, that's genius. I hated it. And because I hated it, I was like, he's good at his job. He's doing his job because, oh my God. And of course, Cameron Grimes came out to be the knight, the savior of everything. So yeah, I'm glad that we are going to get Ted and Cameron Grimes as a pair, maybe chasing after, this, get the $1 million title back.
Yeah, and these are the type of surprises that I do like. See, so you can't have surprise in wrestling, but this is in the context of this. This is more of a plot twist where it's this guy's a heel. At the end of the day, he's a bad guy, and they have to emphasize that. And this is what bad guys do. It's like he won this thing that they were chasing, and then he punches out the guy who gave it to him, who's a legend, who they know that nobody's going to boo Ted. So I really like how they did this. And I love how this storyline is now, it's got me captivated. I'm all in. Like, I might not ever say a bad word about LA Knight as long as they're doing the storyline, because I like these two together feuding over this title, and I like that they keep progressing it. So I really thought that this was really cool. I, too, was surprised. Like, I was surprised up until they showed the angle. WWE is so transparent with everything they do. Like, right. I did not, going into this, expect this, even during this promo. But they showed it from an angle that's like, okay, they're planning something here.
This is weird, right? Yeah.
Kind of telegraph. But at the same time, yeah, it was definitely a surprise in terms of where the storyline's going. And I like that they're continuing this, and they're just hitting this thing out of the park. This whole storyline, I think, has been a success for me.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely loved it, and we'll see where it goes. And props to Ted DiBiase bumping.
Right? It was like an actual bump. He was in a suit.
I know. I was like, can he even be taking these bumps? Is this fair? Like, listen, it was awesome. It was great. Good for LA Knight. He got me. You're right. He got all of us, and that was awesome.
Ted will be feeling that one tomorrow, but it was worth it, man. It was a good bump. Go back and watch that bump. It's Z for $5 says, looks like they have nothing for Priest on Raw right now. I really should have stayed in NXT for a big feud with Cross. Stop calling these guys up. I completely agree with that. It's Z. That'd be perfect.
Yes. We all just got that one, his farewell match, and I was like, no, this should have been a feud. And I felt he had a lot of momentum after WrestleMania, and the fact that we don't even see him on TV right now. I'm hoping that he'll come back for a feud with Sheamus. I really would like to see him feud with Sheamus, or be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, because he did such a good job in the ladder match for the North American title. I'm a big Damian Priest fan, so I'm here to see him do well, and hopefully we'll see him again in a big program soon. But that's why I always say I don't want anybody to get called up. That's exactly why.
Yeah, and I mean, Damian Priest is a perfect prototype for a Money in the Bank. I can't really think of anybody who it would fit better just based on somebody who's really in their first year with WWE, got a little bit of a push, got that Bad Bunny rub. I mean, he would be perfect for it, and he's just kind of disappeared since that zombie
I
match.
just don't know how he's going to be able to do his Archer thing while holding the briefcase. Like, he's going to have to figure something out. Maybe he puts the briefcase across like you do with like a...
there you go, like the
Yes, yes, like that would be the... Exactly, because he can be like doing the Archer thing, and that's a big part of his entrance, which I love his entrance. So he's got to figure out how to carry this. If Brock Lesnar made it a boombox, I'm pretty sure Damian Priest could carry his arrows in the briefcase.
Yeah, you think they're going to do that? They're going to have some arrows.
Oh my God, imagine! It would be, it would be awesome.
Would you? Okay, here's the ultimate test. Would you buy something like that, Issa, if there was a Money in the Bank for Damian Priest with arrows sticking out?
Yes, but it's also because I really, really love Damian Priest, and I know that the way to support your favorite superstars is buy their merch. If you guys love someone, buy their merch. That way they know. Absolutely.
That's why I went straight to the source. So Damian Priest's demographic would love those. That does sound like a pretty badass thing to be just kind of hanging around in the house.
It would.
So we've got the next segment with Io Shirai. She's back in CWC. I'm just laughing because she goes in there and she's just like, I'm back. And it's like, she's been here forever. And it's like, no, you've been here. It's like if you live with your grandma for 5 years, she's like, hey, everybody, I'm back. And not that she's old or anything, but she's just been here forever. So her saying I'm back just sounded so weird. But then she's interrupted by Candice LeRae, who is taunting her. And then she gets attacked from behind by Indy Hartwell. So they're kind of doing a 2-on-1 brawl against Io. Until Zoe Stark, I always try to call her this right. Zoe Stark comes in and evens the odd and runs off the heel. So it looks like Zoe Stark and Io Shirai are going to be paired up against Candice and Indy. You look like you don't like that.
I don't like it at all. I like my Io as a single star in the NXT title picture or elsewhere where she could be used right now, because Lord knows she can be used in the main roster. Of course, we just talked about how they ruined call-up, so it's like a 50-50 feeling, right? But as soon as I saw that they were gonna put her in a tag team, I was like, no. I'm happy to see her on my TV, right? I am, but I feel like NXT can build grudge matches, then one-on-one matches. Like, what is Frankie Monet doing? I thought they were going to feud, like, put them in a nice one-on-one feud. She doesn't need to be in a tag team, and that's the problem when you create these titles and you don't have a division for it, and then you start throwing together these tag teams, and maybe it would end up being well, but Io Shirai is a star on her own. She doesn't need a tag team rub unless it's like a storyline like what they did with Sasha and Bayley. That's different. But Io shouldn't be in the tag team division. I don't like it.
Absolutely not. I mean, I was already deflated. Like, okay, so they're going back to Io and Candice, who just fought forever. And then they're also now doing a tag team. So it was like 2 rungs down, I feel like. She's outgrown NXT. I would rather see her face anybody than anybody in NXT. Because I think she's faced every woman in NXT, really. With the exception of Frankie Monet, of course. But they're not going that direction for the time being. So, I mean, it's fine to see her. I'm sure they're going to have great matches. I'm glad they're doing something with Zoe Stark, who's great. But I mean, she's outgrown. A lot of people have outgrown NXT, and it just kind of really came off that way. It really did feel like I was watching kind of a rerun, seeing Io.
I still would like to see her get a rematch with Raquel, because I feel like Io should come out and say, hey, I called her out. I got myself in the situation where I lost my own title and I need to redeem myself for that. Because remember, she's the one who went up to Raquel and said, you are next, when she was still champion. Yeah. She asked for that, And I feel like that should be what keeps her up at night. The Io Shirai character that they introduced us, that's the person that I would think will be there like, oh my God, I can't believe that I put myself in that situation. I need to redeem myself. And that's what I thought she was going to do, call out Raquel. And then, I don't know, it's because I like Io that I feel like it's just that was not it for me. And like you said, I'm back. It's like, you've always been here, girl.
Yeah. You didn't know we were here.
I'm not on vacation, but...
Yeah. So we get... Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez versus Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter, the returning. And they had a pretty good match. I thought this match peaked with Caden Carter had an awesome comeback, I just thought, where she just ran wild on everybody. And I thought that looked really cool. But it was kind of a run-of-the-mill match. Kai and Gonzalez won. So I guess the story they're telling is that they want to regain the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. Do you think this is how they split them up eventually? You think this is the road to them facing off, or do you think they wait longer past SummerSlam?
I mean, maybe could be it. That's what I was thinking at first. I was originally thinking, maybe they split them up this way. Maybe Raquel doesn't care about winning the tag titles. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that would be a storyline that they would tease. I mean, I do think these two will eventually break up. How we get there, I'm not too sure. Maybe this is the way. I liked the match. I thought it was a decent match, but I was still a little deflated from the segment before, and I was like, why are these two then trying to go after the tag titles if you're gonna put Io in that storyline as well? Maybe that gets us to Io and Raquel. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what shortcut I need to take to get back to Io and Raquel. But overall, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. If it leads to them breaking up, but don't put the titles back on them. Like, these titles have run so many hands already, and they're brand new. Somebody needs to have a long run with them.
Yeah, and at least to their credit, they're building up a women's tag team division, unlike what you see on Raw, where there's literally nobody. Like, there's a champions and there's almost nobody else. But at least on NXT, they're building like contenders for this tag team title, which it's good to see them do that. But at the same time, I do like that they're telling a long-term story between Dakota and Raquel Gonzalez, and they do have to have Raquel Gonzalez as champion kind of be front and center. So I think that's why they might go. I don't think they're actually building toward the tag team titles, but I like seeing that they're actually building them up as contenders before they get there.
Yeah, agreed.
We get to the main event, which I can tell you like this match a lot, Issa, in the Grizzled Young Vets versus Toothless Timmy and Old Man Ciampa. I think that should just be their names.
Wait, how can you skip over Samoa Joe choking out Adam Cole?
Yes, backstage. We had a backstage segment where Samoa Joe choked out Adam Cole. What did you think about this segment?
Of course, I love that. I'm waiting for you to bring it up so that I can say, like, I'm here for Samoa Joe to be the NyQuil of all of NXT, put everybody to sleep. I was so happy for it. I love how Kyle O'Reilly was like, I don't want none of that. And Adam Cole, I was like, he pushed him, and I was like, oh no, mistake, bad idea. I love that, and I love that he's been waiting to be provoked before he does anything, like Regal said. But it was just fun to see. It's gonna be so much fun having Samoa Joe around.
And that's a great gimmick that if he's provoked, he gets to clap back, because it's going to create all kinds of moments and audience reactions where the second somebody maybe even accidentally hits him, they'll be like, oh, you done messed up now. So that's really cool. I really hope he eventually gets cleared, because like, if he does this character and then eventually gets cleared, that's the hottest guy in NXT, period.
Oh, 1000%. Also loved Johnny Gargano marking out for him. When he came backstage and he was like, Joe. I was like, why is he acting like all of us right now? Like, I love that Johnny Gargano gets it, Yeah. I thought that was a fun segment as well. Everything that they did with Samoa Joe backstage tonight was genius, which is why you introduced him on the beginning of the show, so you can use him throughout. Let's get him to work right away. We missed him, so why not put him to work night one?
Yeah, and the term Joe, that was very, very trending very hard on Twitter. I was at like 300,000 before when I last saw it, so it was going up and going up. So good to see Joe back in NXT. It's
yes, it is.
First two-time NXT champion, by the way, I believe. Get to the main event. One of those times he beat Shinsuke, I think. That sucked. Let's go to the main event.
I was there when Shinsuke beat him for it. Thank you very much.
Yes, great.
It was in Brooklyn. That was one of the most amazing shows. Everybody walked out singing Shinsuke's song. It was Shinsuke and NXT. Those were the days, man.
Yeah, now he's got the crown. Well, do you like NXT champion Shinsuke or crown Shinsuke better?
NXT champion Shinsuke forever.
You
it was love at first sight. Huh?
Yeah,
but I don't know how to explain it. It was literally wrestling love at first sight. I saw him in Dallas. I was familiar with him because I saw his match with AJ Styles and I saw his match with Brock Lesnar when he was in New Japan. But I didn't know the guy, and as soon as his music hit in Dallas against Sami Zayn, the entire atmosphere changed, and I was like, I need this feeling every time I go to a wrestling show. And he provided me that. I was there for his debut when he won the title every single time, and then all of a sudden as soon as he lost at WrestleMania 34, I will forever say he should have won that match against AJ Styles.
He really should have. And no, I'll never forget that day. That was one of the all-time great debuts in terms of not only the debut itself with that great music, but also the match. I was in Dallas for when that happened, and I was watching in a hotel room, and I was just kind of burnt out because I've been working all day and writing all day. And when I saw that, I went back and I wrote an article that night, like, this guy needs to be your world champion. Like, this is one of the biggest stars I've ever seen in NXT or wrestling, period. Like, and I was just captivated by it. So no, I love that.
Yes, it was I always call him my love at first sight, because like it was like something, the whole entire energy changed in that place. And I wasn't even gonna go to that NXT because like you, I had just landed. I traveled all day and I was like, do I wanna go? And then it was my nephew's first time like attending a big WrestleMania weekend. I was like, let's give him the whole experience. Let's go, and oh my God, like listen, and that the way that arena felt when Shinsuke would come out in NXT, it was just like something that you had to experience. And I don't want to sound like the people like 2016 to 18 NXT was the best, but it was the best.
Absolutely was the best. Yeah, that match against Sami Zayn, that was one of the best matches I've ever seen, period.
Still one of my favorite NXT matches of all time. And there's a lot to pick from, but that one ranks top 3 for me, I think.
100%. So we get to the main event with 4 people in a tornado tag. This is your grizzled young vets versus Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. They had a brawl with table spot where the table didn't break, but with Ciampa. But they had a lot of great spots. Like they had the spot where Ciampa and Thatcher were taking turns squashing the grizzled young vets in the corner, and they were just picking up more momentum and just doing it back and forth, and it was really fun to watch. And the finish came with a double submission from Ciampa and Thatcher for the win. And looks like we have new number 1 contenders for MSK. They did a little thing backstage where Thatcher stole the popcorn from the MSK. So what did you think about this match, Issa?
Oh my God, it was so much fun. As soon as they announced it to be a tornado tag match, like on Sunday, I was like, oh God, it's going to be chaotic. But it was in the best possible way. Like there is a way to do this where it doesn't feel like you're all over the place and you don't know what to look at. I thought every time Ciampa takes a spot like that table spot, I like freeze for a second. I'm like, I do not want him to get injured and he's injury prone. And I'm like, why are you taking these bumps? Like, be safe.
He took a crazier bump than that. He took a doomsday device suicide dive while he was sitting on the man's shoulder on the outside.
You're right. You're right.
I couldn't breathe that whole spot. I was like, you're kidding. There's no way they're doing this spot. And they did the spot. He's fine, but my goodness.
Do you not miss this Ciampa? Because it feels like Ciampa hasn't been this guy in a while, right? Like I don't know, to me, and I used to be, I still am a big fan of Tommaso Ciampa, but for some reason, it felt like he slowed down, like he softened up a little bit. But then the guy that we got tonight, that's the Ciampa, that is home Ciampa that we're used to. And you're already like, oh my God, put the freaking tag titles on them, right? It was so much fun. It was a lot of fun. The Grizzly Young veterans look great as well, but I do think the right team won here.
Yeah, and a couple things with Ciampa, like he's gotten himself into insane shape. Like he's in great shape. So I think it took him 6 weeks to get he's in the best shape I've ever seen him in. And I think that might have been around the time where there was a lullies and that maybe he was still dieting and stuff like that because he did seem a little checked out. He wasn't really doing much. But ever since this partnership with Timothy Thatcher, I think that's kind of brought out a new energy in him. They seem to really have a good chemistry together in terms of like they did this thing at the end where he's grabbing Timothy Thatcher's beard.
I know, they do. And I didn't think they would at first. I was like, why are they putting Ciampa with this guy? I'm not gonna lie. I was like the first one to say, I don't want him with this. I want him, in a singles feud, blah, blah, blah. And now I love them together. There's something about Thatcher that he's just as crazy as Ciampa. You're just like, okay, these guys are actually meant to be together. And it's a great pairing.
Yeah, and even with those backstage promos, like usually it's Ciampa just getting up and leaving, but now they both kind of go their separate ways. Like they're really kind of coming together as a tag team, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Them and MSK. MSK is like quickly becoming one of my favorite things in WWE. But those two styles, like it's fine wrestling the Grizzled Young Vets, but I just think their styles are way too similar. And this was the best match that they had. I love the tornado tag; really made it fun. But a traditional tag match between these two and MSK, I think, is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. Did they say when it's going to be? Is it going to be a Great American Bash or is it going to be like in a couple of weeks?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they even said it. So in the chat, if you know when that's going to be, it might be at the Great American Bash, but I'm not sure where it's going to be. But I think they're going to have themselves a good match. But what did you think about this show as a whole, Issa?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, once you start the way you start, it's hard to go down from that, especially when you still show us Samoa Joe throughout the show. Probably one of my favorites in the last few weeks. It was a great takeover Fallout show, and I had a lot of fun. I give it a 5 out of 5 for Samoa Joe.
Wow, 5 out of 5.
Just for Samoa Joe.
This was a good show in terms of a whole show, in terms of a show that followed up from pay-per-view. I wish they would move forward with their top champion more, but a lot of things did get moved forward. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I'll give it a solid 4 out of 5 because I did enjoy myself for this. And there was stiff competition on the other channel and managed to keep my attention, but we don't have to talk about that. But I thought this was a very, very good show tonight as a follow-up to what happened. Again, Samoa Joe wasn't much a surprise because the internet can't keep its mouth shut. But it was good. This is a direction that made sense in terms of the story they're telling. So I'm very excited for.
Yeah, the only thing that I will say is that I feel slightly confused because they're booking matches for like next week, the week after that, the Great American Bash, and I'm so confused about when these matches are taking place. Like, luckily for you and I, we covered this show on Tuesday, so we gotta watch every Tuesday. But I'm like, okay, if I'm just tuning in and I want to see Adam Cole's match, when is it? Because I felt like they were doing a lot of booking for different things here and there, which is great. It keeps you watching. But I know they announced Kyle O'Reilly, but then they said Adam Cole also has to pick an opponent of his choosing. And I don't know if that's next week or the week after that. I want to see Adam Cole wrestle a one-on-one match. So I'm just saying it feels like they're booking like 10 weeks in advance and it gets confusing.
Yeah. See, that can be a good thing to book 10 weeks in advance or whatnot. But to your point, with all these different shows they have coming up, it gets very confusing. And, who knows where or what's going to happen. It's like Bid Mood. Joe makes everything better, Issa. Number 1, Alfred Good too. Thank you so much, Bid Mood. That's all I could ever hope for. We got a little time left, Issa. I want to get your thoughts on Hell in a Cell. We'll go through not too many matches. Looks like 5 matches are set.
Hopefully it stays that way. I have a feeling they're going to add a few on Friday, but I like the idea of a short pay-per-view.
Me too. I love that. I mean, we just watched a short pay-per-view this past week. Perfect length for any pay-per-view. Just do the matches, and then we go and talk about it. I love it. So let's start with Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler, the front runner for Feud of the Year. Who do you think is going to win this match?
I'm actually hoping that this ends up being an intervention and Alexa Bliss has an exorcism.
Alexa Bliss has an exorcism, you said?
Yes. I hope that Shayna comes out with holy water and a priest and somebody just holds her and they start trying to exorcise the demon from her.
We should end this somehow, but I have a feeling that this is just the beginning of this feud. We didn't see too much of the doll this week, so maybe they are winding this up, but
they say she's on a timeout. She said she put her on a timeout. Listen, I was happy to see Alexa Bliss back in the ring. I would like for Shayna Baszler to just beat the crap out of her and go back to being the badass that she is, but I don't see that happening. They're really behind this Alexa Bliss gimmick, so it'll probably be Alexa Bliss with some last-minute magic because they got to get it all out before they go back on the road.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You got to get it out of the system somehow. So maybe that's the build that the doll wasn't there this past week because we're building to some crazy stunt that they're doing this week to just send this place out with a bang, like maybe literally.
Yeah.
So we've got Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
I'm pretty sure Bianca wins. I mean, Bianca has already beaten Bayley so many times, so I don't see her losing here.
Yeah, I've got Bianca Belair too. They could have done better, and I know we talk a lot about them building this division, but they really need to start taking this division seriously again because there is talent there. They just haven't been doing a good job of building the next woman up for Bianca Belair.
Right.
Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. To me, this is one of the worst feuds on this card. I love the brawl they did last night, but this...
Yes, me too.
I mean, Rhea Ripley, they've really mishandled her, I think.
Yeah, but they had them in 4 different segments, and the only good part of everything was the brawl.
Yeah.
That was it. I have a bad feeling. I think Charlotte's winning.
This is the value of a Charlotte Flair, by the way, is anytime she's in these title matches... there's always a chance he could win, so you never know to take a pinfall stance, so you're always into the match. I actually think that Rhea Ripley's winning, but I don't feel good about it at all, given how this storyline
You think Rhea's winning? I don't know.
Somehow, some way.
I don't know. I just never bet against Charlotte Flair, that's all.
How how could you? Do they not? I mean, I know they don't have a long-term memory, but like WrestleMania 36 was just right for the taking for Rhea to win,
That's
and
how
she
they
didn't.
should have built this. It should have been Rhea who called out Charlotte and said, "Hey, I'm here. I won the title from Asuka. I wish I would have won it from you. I want to challenge you." And this should have been Rhea's redemption. That's how they should have built this feud, not this weird thing that they have going on. The next one, by the way.
Right. I mean, it's not like they're telling a story where it's like Sandman Raven, where you're chasing a guy for your whole career trying to beat somebody.
Right.
I mean, because there is a story to be told. She had a big chance at NXT. I think it was TakeOver in Your House last year, and she didn't get it done. She didn't get it done at WrestleMania. If she loses again, it's like it's not like they're telling this long-term story. It's like she's going to be seen as a loser to the mainstream audience. Like they saw her win at WrestleMania, but I mean, I think this is a win that Rhea has to have. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh God. I don't want to read any of this, but I'm obligated to as long as it's PG. Some Brooklyn Nets jobber says, "Nice choke job, blah, blah, blah. Bucks, you hear that? It's your MVP, Giannis missing another clutch free throw. Blah, blah, blah. The Bucks wanted to make it interesting, okay? Bucks in 7. That's all I got to say."
Oh, but you were just saying 40 minutes ago.
I didn't. I was saying I wanted to keep it professional and talk about wrestling. That's all I wanted.
Okay, let's just finish. Let's finish predicting so you can go cry.
Bucks in 7. That's all I got to say to all of you. You'll see. I'll see you guys Sunday. The next match, the last couple of matches, Roman Reigns, your guy, versus Rey Mysterio.
Come on. We know who's winning that match. The Tribal Chief.
Tribal Chief, yeah. I take him too. And then finally, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. Interesting. Drew McIntyre went over this past Monday.
Yeah, which definitely means that Bobby Lashley is retaining.
We'll see. I mean, I hope. I think Drew McIntyre is winning this match. I think that.
Don't manifest that. Do not manifest that. Hopefully, you're as good with this prediction as you are with basketball prediction.
You know what? We're ending this podcast right now. Bucks in 7. You understand me? Issa, plug where other people can find you before we get out of here.
At NYC Demon Diva on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Follow me at This Is Nasty. Watch my pro wrestling channel, Pro Wrestling Bits on YouTube. Go Milwaukee Bucks.